Hello and welcome. You know, back in the good old days, road bikes either came with flat pedals or flat pedals with toe clips and straps. For example, this is a 1982 Peugeot I restored last year before I started cleaning it. This is a good example of a toe clip pedal and strap setup, although the pedal is upside down due to weight bias. Now this is what a typical setup looks like when it's right side up. I don't know about you, but I am not even a little tiny bit interested in riding toe clips. Fortunately, I don't have to. The French company Look, best known in the 1980s for their skiing kit, especially ski bindings, also get into cycling. In 1984, they released their first automatic pedal. Their words, not mine, or Clipless as we would call them today. It was heavily influenced by their ski bindings tech. By the way, Clipless refers to the lack of toe clips, even though one technically clips in. Note that external nut and what looks an awful lot like a plastic washer over the bearings. In 1993, Look released the Dynamic Positioner pedal, which used a dial to adjust float. I looked around, but I can't find any reference to float adjustment on Look pedals before this. I can see how that would be useful, though, for adjusting float while you're out on the road. Then, in 1998, the first Keo pedal came along. The Keo has a shorter body and a float adjustment feature through the top of the rear clip. Now, I really like these Look Keo Sprint pedals from my indoor 1988 Schwinn. In fact, I run Keo Sprints on 3 of my 4 drop bar road bikes. Well, 5 drop bar road bikes, counting my in-progress Bianchi Sprint restoration. As much as I like my Keo Sprints, I really don't think that they would look right on the vintage Bianchi. So, I got on eBay and I picked up a set of vintage Look pedals. These appear to be no newer than 2nd generation maybe, based upon the bearing nut not being exposed, so that probably dates them around 1986 or so. And just as with the first generation, there is no float adjustment. As you can see, they are in good physical shape with no visible defects. But boy, they are plenty dirty. So, my first step was to soak them for 30 minutes in a mix of cold water and simple green. I went with this cold water mix to avoid emulsifying the grease inside the pedals while still loosening up the dirt on the outside. Then I just gave the pedals a thorough scrubbing, mostly using a toothbrush so that I could get into all the little nooks and crannies. I also took some 600 grit wet and dry sandpaper and cleaned up the rusty axles. They actually looked really nice when I got done polishing them. Also, interestingly, although these pedals were ostensibly originally on a bike sold in the US, they are marked D and G for droit et garde, rather than left and right. And I guess that's Look's French national pride at work. Here is the finished project. Although they were clean, I touched up the paint with a Sharpie paint stick, and they turned out really nicely in my opinion, and I think that they will look great on the Bianchi. No pun intended. Well, maybe a little one. And of course, since they are going on a vintage racing bike, I had to weigh them. The vintage pedals weigh 441 grams for the pair. Compare that to 285 grams for the Keo Sprints. And just for fun, I weighed a set of 1984 flat pedals that I have, and they came in at 531 grams for the pair. And those guys are aluminum. Earlier, I spoke of float adjustment. To show you what I meant, the float is adjusted on the Keo Sprint via an Allen key port on the top of the rear clip. The vintage version has no float adjustment at all. And finally, I did test fit my cycling shoes on the vintage pedals. They work fine with what I would describe as, about a medium level of stiffness clipping out. All in all, this rehab project turned out really great, and I look forward to the eventual build on the Bianchi. If you enjoyed this, there's a playlist for the Bianchi Sprint below left, and a link to something else I think you will enjoy below right. As always, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate that. Goodbye, and have a great day.